to coast and get you caught up on another action-packed weekend around the Eastern Conference. Starting in Atlanta, the Hawks have the best record in the East since the break. They beat the Sixers. An injury update, of course, Tyrese Maxey sprained his finger. Shams says he'll miss at least a couple games. Tim, is Philly in trouble?
Philly's definitely not in a good place. Tyrese Maxey going to miss at least a couple games, as Shams said, with that finger injury. Joel Embiid still dealing with an oblique. You got rookie VJ Edgecombe dealing with a back issue. This is a team that's now in 8th place in the compacted Eastern Conference standings, trying to avoid being in the play-in. All these injuries are not going to help them get out of it.
On to Milwaukee, where the Magic beat the Bucks by 39. Paolo Banchero had 33 in the win. Orlando is 7-3 since the break. Mark, what's different about this team?
I'm going to tell you a little-known secret. Paolo Banchero's been balling since the All-Star break. 26 points a game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 50% from the field, 4 30-plus games. He and Desmond Bane have been great together. They're moving up the ladder in the standings.
Meantime, in Toronto, the Raptors beat the Mavs by 30, tied for the largest win of the season. The Raptors, however, haven't beaten a team with a winning record since January. Rona, is this team trending towards a play-in spot?
You know, they've been falling off a little bit here, but the best way to get well is to play the Mavericks, apparently, in the last 7 in a row, 17 of 19. I thought that was good. You know, this is a good bounce back here. They hadn't won at home, too, so that's good to at least get a win on the board at home.
Well, that always helps momentum for sure. Over to Phoenix. The Suns cooled off the hot Hornets shooting. They shot under 100 points for the first time since January 21st. Tim, do we still believe in the Hornets?
I think we do to a point. Obviously, they weren't going to be the hottest team in the NBA the rest of the season like they were for, frankly, 6 or 8 weeks. They did, however, less than a week ago, just rout the Celtics, who we spent the A block talking about how great they are. So they are not a team I would want to play in the Eastern Conference playoffs in the first round, assuming they can get out of the play-in. But their speed and athleticism and their youth, and this guy, Concanupple, right there, might be Rookie of the Year. They're going to be an interesting matchup going forward here down the stretch.
Man, and they're just so fun to watch. Over to Miami, 2 teams going in opposite directions. The 1-seed Pistons are sliding, and the Heat are on fire in March, riding a 4-game winning streak entering Sunday. So here's how it went down. Give him a cape, because Tyler Hero has been on a run. Look at that alley-oop.
It's good to see Tyler Hero back on the court. He's been dealing with injuries all season. He's barely been out there.
And when he's out there, it's different. Come on, 3.
Vinny, they could use Sar Thompson to guard Tyler Hero right now.
A little bit.
You can Sar Thompson to guard anybody.
Hi, Vince. Here, just enjoy the Hero montage for a minute.
Listen,
but don't forget about this man. Third quarter, bam, bam.
How about Bam finally getting fully stretched out from three-point range? That's been an interesting development for the Heat.
24 points on the night for him, by the way. And the Bam Hero combo, elite.
And now he's second guy in franchise history, I believe, with 10,000 points, joining Dwayne Wade this weekend.
Yeah, they won't be fun to play in the playoffs.
The Heat take the win, and here is Coach Bickerstaff after.
Yeah, I mean, it's the NBA, right? And you look at the season, it's long. Everybody goes through, you know, difficult times or goes through, you know, a little bit of a rut, and we just found ours right now. And, again, we got plenty of time left to do what we got to do. You know, Boston obviously is a good team, but we're not concerned about Boston. You know, our biggest concern is making sure that we're doing what we need to do to go out and be as good as we possibly can. And we got plenty of time to figure it out, and we will.
The Pistons have now lost 4 straight games after not losing more than 2 in a row this season up to this point. Their offense has scuffled during the streak, scoring just 107.5 points per game. A big hello here to Vince Goodwill joining us now. Thanks for coming by. We're getting cozy here at the desk. Look, you've been around this team quite a bit. What's the most concerning part about this losing streak?
I think, and we can all agree with this around the trade deadline, we were all looking at the Eastern Conference and saying, is Detroit going to do something? Cleveland loaded up. Boston's getting Jason Tatum back. New York got Jose Alvarado to bolster their bench. Detroit did nothing. Or they traded Jaden Ivey and wound up getting Kevin Huerter, who has yet to make a contribution. And you're looking at that offense, and you're looking at how dependent it is on Cade Cunningham. They're very dependent on defense leading the offense. And with Sar Thompson being out for the next week with that ankle injury, that's a big blow to them. And this is something that teams are concerned about loading up into the playoffs.
I think it's a little something here. I mean, look, I think Cade, they gave him a night off against Brooklyn thinking we should be able to beat the Nets without Cade, and they did not. And that's part of why we have this 4-game losing streak. But what that game to me was important is when you don't have Cade out there, that's the time for Jalen Duren to step up. That's the time where you carry the team. And when Vinny, when you talked about they didn't go get somebody else to create shots, to go create offense, that's what we're noticing, and that's what's going to happen in the playoffs. As teams are going to try to take Cade away. They're going to make it difficult on him, just like teams do with Anthony Edwards in Minnesota.
Well, he's also doing it all for that team, Mark.
And this is a team where they're still young. This is new to them. This is probably going to be good for them. This is the first real big adversity that they face this season. And you want, if you're JB Bickerstaff, you want them to face adversity now, then hit them in the playoffs for the first time. So I think they'll learn from this. Obviously, as Vinny mentioned, they need Thompson back. But nobody expected them to be in the front like this. And even if they get caught by Boston, if they're the number 2 seed, that's still a heck of a move for these Pistons.
It's incredible. The lead in the East, by the way, is down to just 2.5 games, Tim. How important is that 1 seed for Detroit?
Well, I'm going to go back to what J.B. Bickerstaff said in that clip, which to me, it's much more important whether Detroit is first or second in the East than that they're playing the way they were earlier in the season going into the playoffs. And I'll go back to what Vince said before. We laid out the team right now. At the trade deadline, they chose to stand pat. They chose to let's let this young group marinate and see where it goes. Now, that's a fine thing to do. However, when you're in the top 4 in the East and you see these additions across the board, and as Vince also pointed out, we all could see at the time the Pistons had one very clear deficiency. They have Cade Cunningham, who's an all-world guy with the ball in his hands, and nobody else there to help him. And they came out of the trade deadline. They did not make any changes there. And you saw, especially in those 2 games against the Spurs recently. I'm not too worried about the games this weekend. But those 2 games against the Spurs, another championship caliber team, what happened? Cade really struggled against the combination of Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama, and Detroit could not get their offense going. And I think if you talk to people around the league, that is potentially a preview of what this team could look like in the playoffs, which, again, to Mark's point, it's a young team. It's not necessarily maybe the end of the world, but for a team that's been in the position they're in the East all year and they had a wide-open conference to take advantage of, people are going to look back and wonder what could have been if they fall short in the playoffs.
There was a lot of internal debate with the Pistons front office of whether we go for it or we stand pat and go through this Oklahoma City sort of model of, hey, we might be a year ahead of schedule, where Oklahoma City was 2 years ago when they had the number 1 seed in the West and they lost in the second round, and then they made the big leap. The problem is you don't know what next year is going to bring. Just because they did it doesn't mean you're going to do it.
And Jalen was talking championship to me a couple weeks ago. Let's see what they got this last stretch.
That Miami Heat game, that could be your play-in 1-8 matchup.
Yeah. Wait, I like that.
Ooh, I don't think Detroit would.
Miami's undefeated.
Miami girly. That's all I'm going to learn. That's it. Nothing else to see here. All right, coming up, was this one the best weekend of the season so far? And what happened after a comeback win that has our experts talking? And today might mark the start of NFL free agency. But before the quarterbacks start airing it out, we're going deep with our top of the top long distance launches. Great way to